Sandler's statement on the matter was, quote, "When these fine people came to me with an offer to make 4 movies for them, I immediately said yes for one reason and one reason only. Netflix rhymes with wet chicks."
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and I talked about this subject a little bit in today's Comics Aficionados live stream, but that was like an hour and 20 minutes into the stream, and I did want to cover it a little bit more in depth and from a different perspective. I already talked to a couple of retailers, so today I'm going to talk to Joe Corallo, independent writer, independent editor, award-winning editor, about the recent marketing that Tom King used on Twitter to promote his Batman Catwoman #1 and what we can kind of make it. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing all right. Wes, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. So Tom King is no stranger to kind of outrage or controversy and things like that. Obviously, recently he had the Jay Lee incident, which I don't believe he planned. But before that, he did have Batman 50, The Wedding, that certainly turned on him. I think after that, he went to a Comic-Con and claimed that he was getting so many death threats that he had to have a bodyguard. It turned out that wasn't quite true. Like, it might have been his brother-in-law or something silly like that. So yeah, he does use social media and things like that to generate some publicity. I'm not certain that his tweet, which has been deleted, where he was basically responding to a customer and saying Batman and Catwoman F in this, referring to Batman and Catwoman #1. Did you? What did you think? I think he was trying to be funny.
Yeah, I was actually at that San Diego Comic-Con. I think it was San Diego Comic-Con 2018, where he was walking around with the bodyguard, and a lot of comics pros were making comments about that. But no, it's I feel like it was probably a way for him to try to make light of the fact that he's had these sort of issues before. You know, like with the wedding and stuff, and it's like, oh, this is going to be it's just like a joke or something. Like, who would believe this after the wedding incident and all these other things that have happened? Like, who could possibly just take my word for it that was going to be the case? So I imagine it was a joke. Obviously it had to be, because that's apparently not what happens in the issue anyway.
It is DC Black Label, and I think people probably remember in the first Batman book they put out with Lee Bermeo and Brian Azzarello, Batman Damned, we got the Batawang, but that caused a lot of consternation. Pam Lifford, who is like the Warner Brothers, Warner Media liaison that's in charge of DC Comics, was not happy, was not aware of it. And I think that, as far as I understand, there were drastic changes to the future of DC Black Label based on that. They didn't want to have an incident like that happen again. So I wouldn't imagine there'd be any nudity or things like that after what happened there. But we do have confirmation. One of my retail friends read the book. He talked about it on the live stream. He's like, there's some canoodling. Apparently, he might kiss her on the cheek, and there might be some heavy petting or something like that. But there is, in fact, no gratuitous sex scene, like you wouldn't expect. So I'm with you. I think he was joking, but with the way that social media is, everybody kind of picked up on it. It kind of, even though it was short-lived, it kind of had a life of its own.
Yeah, I mean, we do live in a post Batwang society at this point. I mean, they made the drastic changes after it was initially released. They erased that, or they made edits to the collected edition, any future floppies that were printed to remove that. So for them to do something like that, like we're saying, would have been ridiculous. And then, I don't know if this is a controversial take or not. I also don't know exactly why that's one tweet is the kind of thing that would get people to immediately want to buy that book.
Firstly, it makes it collectible, because I was talking to Larry from Larry's Comics. He was the one that was talking about on the stream, and he said all the copies that were left over that were able to be ordered, and all the covers immediately sold out because the retailers all went and gobbled them up. There's nothing left on the market anymore.
Yeah, no, and definitely, take Larry's word for that kind of stuff. He's been a retailer for a long time, and he knows that stuff. What's interesting is in terms of making these sort of things collectible or not. This is not exactly the same thing, but during the New 52, they did that like unannounced killing off Damian Wayne in Batman Incorporated #8. Same sort of thing happened where as soon as word leaked, like a week or two before the book came out, it sold out at the distributor level. All the shops around me, at least, were figuring out different things like, oh, we're going to have to cap it at 1 or 2 copies for people. We're going to have to figure out like, oh no, we underordered. We don't have enough for the polls. Like that kind of stuff was going on. And go on eBay right now. Go check how much Batman Incorporated #8 is going for from the New 52. You could get a copy easy between $5-10, like no problem.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of speculators out there, and they like to jump on stuff like this. What do you think about, like, if he was making a joke and he put it out on social media, this event was going to happen in there that got people interested, retailers went out and bought a bunch of extra copies, whatever was available, and it turns out that's not in there. Like, does Tom King have any culpability in that? Like, does he owe those retailers money for going out and spending money on something that he said was going to happen that didn't?
I mean, when it comes to like the retailers, it's a little tough because it sounded like a lot of them already have, the preview copy or something like that to reference. So it's like, well, it's like between that and the wedding, it's like fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me kind of thing. Like,
obviously they had to make the wedding fully returnable. Yeah. DC Comics did, because they spoiled it days before the wedding that it wasn't going to happen. There was like all these celebrations that were going to happen all over America, really the world, with all these wedding parties are going to be all elaborate. Turns out there's no wedding. A lot of people canceled their orders and they had to make them fully returnable, which DC Comics does not do very often.
Yeah, I mean that whole thing was weird because they were really going all in on, buy a wedding cake, all that stuff. I know you talked about all that stuff earlier in your stream, but like,
well, and they did like the lead up to the wedding. They were doing all these mini series with like Tim Seeley and stuff, like Nightwing, Prelude to the Wedding, like 3-part miniseries. They did a bunch of them.
Yeah, Joker was really upset he wasn't invited. Like, that's weird, right? But yeah, what a weird time to read Batman. But it was you see something like this. I mean, between the fact that this is an out of continuity maxi series, it doesn't seem...
As far as we know, everything in DC Comics is in continuity because it's fluid.
Sure. That's sure. It's in your continuity, and that's what counts. But yeah, it's who knows? I mean, Clayman's a great artist, though. I've liked him since like, God, almost a decade ago on like X-Men Legacy. I think it was on.
I discovered him at Valiant.
Yeah. He was doing stuff at Valiant. Then at DC, I think one of his earlier works was that Poison Ivy miniseries with Amy Chu.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been around. He does some good work. I briefly met him at a con once. He does good stuff. But yeah, so that's exciting. I still, that cover for that first issue, the way she's positioned and holding that whip is still very questionable to me. But
yeah, because it looked like it's going in as
it looked like she wasn't using the whip according to the instructions that would like come with it,
absolutely.
but yeah, it's
maybe that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, like it easily could have been, but yeah, I don't get why people would be excited for just that kind of thing happening in a comic, it's like, all right, like I feel like we're all adults here. We all assume that Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle have done it by now, right? Like
consummated the relationship.
Yeah, like even if it's not on the pages, I mean, we can.
Well, certainly in New 52 Batman #1, I'm pretty sure it happened.
Yes, that was.
She was staring into him.
Yeah, it also looks like that would have been really gross with all the like latex and just the costumes and the tights and the armor. It's like, oh, that I am not jealous of that situation, but it must have smelled awful, just after a whole night of like fighting crime in tights and armor. Like, forget it. But that aside, which also apparently is still in continuity because everything's in continuity now. So yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't have to see Batman eating breakfast in the morning to assume that Bruce Wayne probably had breakfast or at least lunch at some point during the day. I think we can assume that they've gone at it.
Absolutely. So do you think DC Comics are the ones that came out on Tom King were like, you need to delete that? Or do you think Tom King realized, oh my goodness, people are running with this. I need to delete it. I don't think DC is going to be happy, even though they got publicity out of it.
I feel like it was probably Tom King realizing it before it got that far up the chain, because he's active enough on Twitter. You kind of know when you tweet something and you start looking at the likes and replies to be like, "Ooh, this is happening. This isn't good." But it's on the one hand, it's baffling to me that people took it seriously, or took it seriously to the point where they were, wanting to order the book or all of that. But it also begs the question, like, but why even joke about that after all of the things that have happened over the last few years? Like, why tempt fate?
Absolutely. It's social media. Nobody can take a joke. They might. You are the writer of the series. Why would you be putting out false information?
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of that lately in just the past like week or so of just like, I don't know why everyone's taking this so seriously. It was a joke.
Yeah. I remember we seeing Hickman on social media before he deleted his Twitter. He's always like, "I'm just trying to get fired." I wonder if he's serious. He might be serious. Like, I don't know. You can't see how he's saying it.
It's possible, yeah, but like you can't. You don't get the tone on Twitter. You don't get, a lot of stuff that would be easy to convey in person.
You don't know the relationship of the people that he's replying to that could be close friends.
Yeah. You see a lot of this stuff where people have like these sort of inside jokes. They're like tweeting and, you just get people kind of walking in and then it gets really awkward. And it's like, yeah, this is a public space. Mm-hmm. And not everyone's in on the joke, obviously.
Yeah, you wouldn't talk about that on your cell phone. You might not want to talk about it on Twitter because everyone's going to, essentially can hear the conversation.
Yeah, if you wouldn't yell it in the middle of Grand Central Station, don't tweet it.
Yeah, you don't want your grandma to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has access to Twitter too,
Oh, absolutely. You don't even need like an account, really. You can just kind of like Google stuff. But
absolutely, you just find the article. It's going to have a link. You go right.
Yeah, but Twitter in general, and social media has been a detriment to a lot of creators. Like, and I'm not even talking about professionally. I'm not saying like, people getting like reprimanded or losing jobs. I'm talking just like purely like mental health,
insanity.
Yeah, being able to unwind. I mean, like I've had conversations with people who have told me things like, I had to deactivate my account because my last tweet only got a handful of likes, and I thought, that meant that I was shadow banned or everyone's muting me or, and I started to spiral. I've heard, other like creators and tell me stories about having stress dreams where someone blocked them that they thought they were friends with. Like, this is real. This is how it affects people. And I'm not here to judge people, like mental health stuff. It's like, you can't control if that's like, if something upsets you and gives you that like physical reaction, you don't control that. But it's like, well, we
might
gotta
not be healthy.
Yeah, we gotta get, it's like, then you gotta kind of get off Twitter.
Treat the symptoms.
Yeah, it's like, take it off your phone. Turn off notifications. And there are people that like take their like Twitter breaks or this and that, and then they come back, but they're right back to the same stuff. They're right back to, tweeting a joke and then, compulsively checking and, then going and scrolling and being like, oh, so-and-so didn't like my joke, but they're liking this other one, and they're even in this other person's replies. Like, what did I do? Like, how did I upset them? Like,
they're clearly active right now.
Why
are they ignoring me? Yeah.
I mean, you see stuff like that. You've probably seen, I think a lot of people have seen, people that get like jealous that Donny Cates is giving them attention and not them. It's he's easily one of the most popular writers right now, but like, not necessarily pros, but some of them are pros or like up and comers or like big, like just fans of comics that are on Twitter. You'll hear that stuff all the time of just like people being like, oh man, how'd you get Donnie to reply to your tweet or something like that? It's like, I didn't. Do you honestly think that there's like this hidden network behind the scenes that's alerting Donnie to like and reply to the right tweets? Like there's this
one
like,
day I had John Wesley Shipp like one of my tweets because I'm a Dawson's Creek mark. I don't like the old Flash, but Dawson's Creek, they actually liked my tweet. I was like, that's pretty dope.
Yeah. No, like that's the problem, is some of that stuff can be nice, but then there's this like addiction element to it. And then like people just start getting into that, like, it's like, what was that movie, like The Fan or whatever, with like the guy who was obsessed with that like actress and like tried to like kidnap her. Like I'm trying to think, it's been a long time, but there's multiple movies like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it turns everyone crazy. It's just like, then people start thinking like, how can I get John Wesley Shipp to like my next tweet? What can I do to get him to do that? But you'll see someone will like tweet something, and then they'll get like a reply from like a famous person, and then they'll like quote tweet that reply from a famous person and be like, oh my God, thank you. This can't be real. My life is so amazing. What's going? It's just like, everyone calm down. Like, let's all like. And this applies to, if a celebrity likes your tweet, just relax. Don't get too engaged. If you see a comics creator tweeting something, and 100% know if it's happening or not, like, don't take it at face value unless they're like actually being like, hey, this is my book. You can pre-order it at your store now. Here's a preview page. Like, that's pretty earnest. If someone's like, dropping F-bombs to describe what's happening in their comic, maybe don't take it quite as
not so literal.
Yeah,
might just be messing around.
Yeah, don't go that further step of, not only am I taking this at face value, but I need to read this, or I need to purchase it because it's going to be a collector's item. Because there really aren't that many key issues that have come out in the 21st century, outside of like Walking Dead #1 and some other stuff, that are like really key issues for a collection. It just doesn't happen. It didn't happen with, Batman Incorporated #8. It didn't happen with, Spider-Man 700. I mean, you look at a lot of those incentive covers, they kind of like, a lot of them don't necessarily lose a ton of value, but they don't really go up past what you paid for them. So like, don't get too caught up in that. If you like the story, if you want to read it anyway, you should be picking it up anyway. If the difference between picking up Batcat 1 for you was whether or not we get an explicit sex scene, I don't know how to help you.
Well, some people say it's not mine. I've never really gotten that, but it's definitely makes it collectible to some people out there. But if you were planning on buying Batman Catwoman #1 because of the Tom King tweet, Balderdash, I know somebody that's looked at the comic book. It's not in there. They kiss on the neck. There's a little bit of a canoodling, and that's it. So you will be disappointed, and you will have wasted your money.
Exactly. I'm not trying to kink shame anybody. There's plenty of fan fiction out there. I'm sure if you went on DeviantArt, you will find tons.
Just Google it; it's probably available.
Yeah, you can find that stuff, or you could like find real human people.
Absolutely. So, Joe, I do want to say thank you for joining me today, talking about Tom King's lowbrow marketing effort. It certainly caught a lot of attention. Sold out of the comic almost, within an hour. He did take the tweet down, but if you're planning on buying it, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what do you even say anymore to this stuff? Like, it's, buy it or don't. Whatever happens, maybe they'll have sex next time.
Maybe it's #2.
Maybe this was like to test the waters and then be like, oh, we're still drawing, we're up to like issue 7 now. So like we saw the demand so high, we have to have them have explicit sex now. Maybe
I got the likes on my tweet. It's important.
Well, they got the likes. Well, now they can do like a presentation to AT&T to be like, look at the engagement when we said that they were going to have sex. Like, this is a guaranteed seller if we do that.
Probably is.
So now they've got their PowerPoint presentation ready to go for it.
Absolutely. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thanks.